Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Warren Jeffs. Warren Steed Jeffs is the former president of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and a convicted felon currently serving a sentence of life plus 20 years. His prison term is the result of being convicted in 2011 of 2 felony counts of child sexual assault. In May 2006, he was placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted list for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution on Utah state charges related to his alleged arrangement of illegal marriages between his adult male followers and underage girls. He was arrested in August 2006 in Nevada, and agreed to be taken to Utah for trial. In May and July 2007, Arizona charged him with 8 additional counts in 2 separate cases, including incest and sexual conduct with minors. On September 25, 2007 in St. George, Jeffs was convicted of 2 counts of rape as an accomplice. On November 20, 2007, Jeffs was sentenced to imprisonment for 10 years to life and began serving his sentence at the Utah State Prison. The conviction, however, was overturned by the Utah Supreme Court on July 27, 2010, due to incorrect jury instructions. Jeffs was extradited by Utah to Texas, where he was found guilty of sexual assault and aggravated sexual assault of children in connection with a raid of the Fields Church's YFZ ranch in 2008. After the jury had deliberated for less than 30 minutes, Jeffs was sentenced to life in prison plus 20 years, to be served consecutively, and a $10,000 fine for sexual assault of both 12 and 15-year-old girls. Family. Jeffs was born to Rulon Jeffs and Marilyn Steed, the daughter of Woodruff Steed. His father, the leader of the Fields Church at his death, was survived by 19 of 20 wives and approximately 60 children. Former church members claim that Jeffs himself has 70 wives. 2 of Warren Jeffs' children, a son and a daughter, have publicly claimed that they were sexually abused by him. Church leadership. Prior to his father's death, Jeffs held the position of counselor to the church leader. When Rulon Jeffs died in 2002, Jeffs became his successor, with his official title in the Fields Church becoming president and prophet, seer and revelator, as well as president of the priesthood, the latter concerned being head of the organization of all adult male church members that were deemed worthy to hold the priesthood, a tradition carried over from the LDS Church. Following his father's death, Jeffs told the high-ranking Fields officials, "I won't say much, but I will say this, hands off my father's wives." When addressing his father's widows he said, "You women will live as if father is still alive and in the next room." Within a week, Jeffs had married all but 2 of his father's wives. One, Rebecca Wall, fled the compound. The other refused to marry Jeffs and was subsequently prohibited from ever marrying again. Wall, the older sister of Alyssa Wall who was instrumental in Warren's incarceration, later married Jeffs' nephew. Naomi Jessup was one of the first of Rulon's former wives to marry Warren, subsequently becoming his favorite wife and confidant. Jessup was with Jeffs at the time of his arrest. As the sole individual in the church with the authority to perform marriages, Jeffs was responsible for assigning wives to husbands. He also had the authority to discipline male church members by reassigning the wives, children, and homes to another man, until courts in Utah intervened. Jeffs controlled almost all of the land in Colorado City, Arizona, and Hilldale, Utah, which was a part of a church trust, the United Effort Plan. The land has been estimated to be worth over $100 million. Currently, all UEP assets are in the custody of the Utah court system pending further litigation. As the result of a November 2012 court decision, much of the UEP land is to be sold to those who live on it. In January 2004, Jeffs expelled a group of 20 men from Colorado City, including the mayor, and reassigned the wives and children to other men in the community. Jeffs, like his predecessors, continued the standard Fields and Mormon fundamentalist tenet that faithful men must follow what is known as the doctrine of plural marriage in order to attain exaltation in the afterlife. Jeffs specifically taught that a devoted church member is expected to have at least 3 wives in order to get into heaven, and the more wives a man has, the closer he is to heaven. Changes in location, leadership. Before his 2006 arrest, Jeffs had last been seen on January 1, 2005, near El Dorado, Texas, at the dedication ceremony of the foundation of a large and elaborate Fields Church temple on the YFZ Ranch. The ranch came into the public eye when Texas authorities took legal custody of 416 children on April 7, 2008. When a 16-year-old girl reportedly phoned to report abuse. The girl in the report claimed to have said that she was married to a 50-year-old man and had, at age 15, given birth to his child. However, residents told authorities that there was in fact no such girl. The calls were ultimately traced to a woman totally unconnected to the Fields Church, Rosita Swinton, and known for repeated instances of filing false reports. Nevertheless, Texas authorities continued to investigate whether it was a hoax. The children and women who were suspected of being minors were returned after Texas courts established that the state had not presented sufficient evidence of abuse to have removed all of the women and children. On June 10, 2006, Arizona Attorney General Terry Goddard told the Deseret Morning News that he had heard from several sources that Jeffs had returned to Arizona and had performed marriage ceremonies in a mobile home that was being used as a wedding chapel. On March 27, 2007, the Deseret Morning News reported that Jeffs had renounced his role as prophet of the Fields Church. In a conversation with his brother Nephi, Nephi quoted him as saying he was the greatest of all sinners and that God never called him to be a prophet. Jeffs and his defense team had no comment on the statement. Rumors suggest it was a lie from his brother Nephi, who was trying to usurp his brother's role, while more rumors circulated saying Jeffs must step down as prophet so a new man could perform marriages and continue adding wives to the men of the community. An unnamed source said that Jeffs retracted his statement to Nephi. However, the veracity of that source was called into question when Jeffs presented a handwritten note to the judge at the end of trial on March 27, saying that he was not a prophet of the Fields Church. On November 7, 2007, the Washington County Attorney's Office released video of jailhouse conversations between Nephi and Jeffs. In the videos, Jeffs renounces his prophethood, claiming that God had told him that if he revealed that he was not the rightful prophet, and was a wicked man, he would still gain a place in the celestial kingdom. Jeffs also admits to what he calls immoral actions with a sister and a daughter when he was 20 years old. Other records show that while incarcerated, Jeffs tried to commit suicide by banging his head against the walls and trying to hang himself. Jeffs formally resigned as president of the Fields Church effective November 20, 2007. In an email to the Deseret Morning News, Jeffs' attorneys made the following statements: Mr. Jeffs has asked that the following statement be released to the media and to members of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Mr. Jeffs resigned as president of the corporation of the president of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Inc. The statement does not address his ecclesiastical position as prophet of the Fields Church, and many in the Fields communities still regard him as the prophet and their current leader. There are also reports that Jeffs admitted his position of prophet in the Fields Church was a usurpation in a conversation to his brother, and declared that, "Brother William E. Jessup has been the prophet since my father's passing," though Jeffs' attorneys have claimed he misspoke. In early 2011, Jeffs retook legal control of the denomination. Arrest, trial and conviction. On August 28, 2006, around 9 p.m. Pacific Time, Jeffs was pulled over on Interstate 15 in Clark County, Nevada, by highway trooper Eddie Dutchover, because Jeffs' red 2007 Cadillac Escalade's temporary license plates were not visible. One of Jeffs' wives, Naomi, and his brother, Isaac, were with him, and Jeffs had 4 computers, 16 cell phones, disguises, and more than $55,000 in cash. His wife and brother were questioned and released. In a Nevada court hearing on August 31, 2006, Jeffs waived extradition and agreed to return to Utah to face 2 first-degree felony charges of accomplice rape. Each charge carries an indeterminate penalty of 5 years to life in prison. Arizona prosecutors were next in line to try Jeffs. He was held in the Washington County, Utah jail pending an April 23, 2007, trial on 2 counts of rape as an accomplice for his role in arranging a 2002 marriage between a 14-year-old girl and her 19-year-old first cousin. Jeffs was believed to be leading his group from jail, and a Utah State Board expressed dissatisfaction in dealing with Hilldale police, believing that many members of the force had ties to Jeffs, and as such, did not cooperate. In May and July 2007, he was indicted in Arizona on 8 counts, including sexual conduct with a minor and incest. Jeffs' trial ran from September 11 to 25, 2007. The trial was held in St. George, Utah, with Judge James L. Shumate presiding. Jeffs was housed in Utah's Purgatory Correctional Facility in solitary confinement for the duration. At the culmination of the trial, on September 25, 2007, Jeffs was found guilty of 2 counts of being an accomplice to rape. He was sentenced to prison for 10 years to life and began serving his sentence at the Utah State Prison. On July 27, 2010, the Utah Supreme Court, citing deficient jury instructions, reversed Jeffs' convictions and ordered a new trial. The court found that the trial judge should have told the jury that Jeffs could not be convicted unless he intended for Alyssa's husband to engage in non-consensual sex with her. Alyssa subsequently wrote an autobiography on her experiences in the Fields Church and with Jeffs entitled Stolen Innocence. The book was co-authored with former New York Times journalist Lisa Pulitzer. Jeffs was also scheduled to be tried in Arizona. He had entered a not guilty plea on February 27, 2008, to sex charges stemming from the arranged marriages of 3 teenage girls to older men. He was transported to the Mojave County, Arizona jail to await trial. On June 9, 2010, a state judge, at the request of Mojave County prosecutor Matt Smith, dismissed all charges with prejudice. Smith said that the Arizona victims no longer wanted to testify, and that Jeffs had spent almost 2 years in jail awaiting trial. More than he would have received had he been convicted. Combined with the pending charges against Jeffs in Texas, Smith concluded that it would be impractical and unnecessary to try Jeffs in Arizona. Jeffs was then returned to Utah. At the time, his appeal of the 2007 conviction was still pending. On August 9, 2011, Jeffs was convicted on 2 counts of sexual assault of a child and sentenced to life in prison. Jeffs, Texas Department of Criminal Justice 1,726,705, will be eligible for parole on July 22, 2038. Prison life. On July 9, 2008, Jeffs was taken from jail in Arizona to a Nevada hospital for what the sheriff described as a serious medical problem. The Harvey County Sheriff Tom Sheehan did not specify Jeffs' medical problem, but said it was serious enough to move him about 100 miles from Kingman Regional Medical Center to the Nevada hospital. Jeffs has engaged in lengthy hunger strikes, which his doctors and attorneys have claimed were for spiritual reasons. In August 2009, Superior Court Judge Steve Conn ordered that Jeffs be force-fed. Thereafter, Jeffs was fed through a stomach feeding tube. On August 29, 2011, Jeffs was taken to East Texas Medical Center, Tyler, Texas, and hospitalized in critical condition under a medically induced coma after excessive fasting. Officials were not sure how long he would remain hospitalized, but expected Jeffs to live. Jeffs is incarcerated at the Lewis C. Pollard Unit of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice near Palestine, Texas. In December 2012, Jeffs predicted that the world would end before the year 2013 and called for his followers to prepare for the end. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.